Hey you guys, I am NanoMango, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. Now, I finally figured out a little bit more of the issue that I was having with my graphics cards. I'm able to run off of just one for each screen now, so they seem to be working just fine. I'm probably going to upgrade soon, but not yet. So, right now, I'm just going to be dealing with what I have. So I am going back into the system of showing you guys all the things that I have made. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter list, I think, than the airplane list, but I'm not entirely sure. So first up is not actually a rocket, it's actually a helicopter. This was an attempt at a helicopter based on a design that I had seen online. So as I pan out here, you'll actually see what the heck is going on. So the design behind this is just using the small engines to create a bit of rotation. Now let's just use these really quick. And I just have a Kerbal right in here. It's actually Fozzie Kerman. And the idea was just to spin these up and get going. With these angled blades, it lets you go really high. Okay, I think I've got just about enough altitude. Now I have these boosters on here that should, in theory, be able to slow this thing to a stop. Yeah, we slowed it a little bit more than a stop. Anyway, so that lets you descend really rapidly, and then hopefully we can catch ourselves. If we don't, it's not too big of a deal. Yeah, no, we couldn't. Anyway, and it's a very fantastic explosion when you completely fail. After the first helicopter, I kind of took the best parts of it and applied it to a new helicopter called the Mark II Small. The actual Mark II is a little bit bigger, and so here we go. I extended the actual blades by double. I know that the offset here is probably really horrible to look at, but it's okay. And I took out the cockpit because this is a lot lighter, and then I added a little fuel cell on the bottom just to give it a little bit of weight. So watch this. Oh, actually, I'm going to turn off stability. That actually slows you down a little bit, and that's annoying. Here we go. So I added some struts. I think I had struts in the last one too, but these struts help just keep it together while it flies. This one has a much lower takeoff speed for rotation. It actually takes off faster vertically, but it spins less quickly to take off because it has the bigger surface area on the blades. So we're just going to shoot up here really quick. One thing I found out is that if you leave this thing on full throttle and just walk away from the computer, it actually glitches. It starts spinning so fast that the engines actually start pulling out and spinning it even faster. And it's hilarious because if you walk away and come back, it'll be at such a high altitude that the engines stopped working, but it kept spinning forever. And so it's hovering at a perfect altitude. And so I made an in-atmosphere satellite, which just hovers there indefinitely based on a game glitch. So here we go. Now we're really, really high up. We're going to deploy one of these little rockets here, and we're going to stop. Since there's no ability to turn, there's no real way to turn at all. There's no control modules on it at all, and even when I put some on it, it doesn't help whatsoever. So what you have to do is you have to stop the blades from spinning, and then it will debalance the whole craft. So you'll see this in a second. Here we go. And it starts just toppling around. And if you accelerate it at any of these points, it will right itself, which is pretty dang cool. Sometimes it'll right itself upside down. This time it looks like it's just going to right itself at a bit of an angle. And that's kind of how you get momentum in any direction. It's not exactly the most effective. Let's just descend really quickly. Straight down, please. Thank you very much. And I'm going to see if I can land this. That's going to be the ultimate test for this. I made a boo-boo. Here we go. Now, as soon as we touch down, there we go, fire the rockets, and that stops the blades. It actually gets them to go in the other direction. I turned on the engines, though, to stop that. There we go! And we have successfully landed, and the engines are off. There! See? That's what I wanted to show you. You can also just spin the blades crazily the other direction, but that doesn't help you at all. The next thing you're about to see is another expansion, the final, actually, expansion upon the helicopter design, where I decided I wanted to make it even more like a helicopter. So we've got the blades here, but you'll see in a second I've added just a little bit more. I wanted it to have a bit of a body along with the blades. So let's go. So what I do is I ignite these engines down here, and they start to give some counter rotation. Then I decouple this and start these top engines. and then the whole thing spins on these wheels. So here we go. Let's start, decouple, and start. And now this should let us take off. It's not very smooth, and there's zero directional control, and it's very glitchy, but hopefully it works at least a little. Oh snap, one of the engines broke off, but that actually happens every single time, so I'm not too worried. Okay, there we go. And we've got a little bit of flight. There, it's perfect, and this is as much flight as I've ever gotten. I'm not even joking. This is exactly how it works every single time. Let's go ahead and crash this thing. Why not? There we go. Let's actually do full backwards rotation. There we go. Boom! And that was gorgeous. We completely destroyed the landing pad, but this helicopter is actually mostly intact, which is quite surprising. The Hidden Ship Mark 1. Alright, let's take off and release. So this thing has a lot of power. I can get this thing to go really fast. I think it topples if you turn it too much, but if you're just gentle... I don't remember, I designed this a long time ago. That's really how it is with most of the things. So if I remember correctly, whoa, you shut these off and detach these. There you go. And then you just have this little thing. Here we go. Also, we have a rocket boost, I think, for if we lose control. Not sure. Not sure what that's for, but it looked kind of cool. Okay. Looks like we've regained most of our control, I guess, if you can call it that. Okay. There. That's control. Alright. Now let's detach. That detaches that, and then we detach from there, and we'll activate our little rocket now. Go! I don't think that we get much control from this. Yes, we do. It's kind of a little pod. This is back when this was one of the best options for a small cockpit. The other one's a lot better now. But yeah, you can use this to kind of glide somewhere if you need to. And then once you get down to, you know, your destination, it's kind of like a secret agent thing. If you were trying to infiltrate a area with the smallest craft possible, this is kind of that idea. You throw this, essentially. You use that to get to a really high speed and then detach and throw it, and then you use this to get to your destination, and then this will just slowly drop you down. And let's just shut off those. There we go. And this will slowly drop you down to the surface where you can start your mission, hopefully undetected. And that was the idea. Imagine playing multiplayer and you're doing some espionage or even sabotage, dare I say, and you're playing with your friend. You want him to think that you were trying to fly over there and your ship like blew up, right? Well, the ship self-destructs and you fly down just next to his base and deploy your parachutes and maybe even land on top of it if you're skilled enough. I certainly am not, but that would be pretty cool. This ship, for darn good reasons, is called the Kerbal Mover Mark IV. Mark IV obviously means that it's the 4th generation, and Kerbal Mover is, it's obvious why it's called that. It has 4 pods up near the top. You can't really see here. They're right here. That move Kerbals. The idea was to get this craft to land on the moon and transport Kerbals to or from. It was actually originally created as a rescue craft. It was remote controlled so that I could have 4 slots open and not need a pilot in it. So let's just do an in-atmosphere demo. I don't have time to get all the way to the moon, but let's just launch, and here we go. This is about the last stage before you hit the moon. You're just kind of firing off all your rockets, trying to slow down just before you hit it. I was a very get to the moon and stop and then touch down. I wasn't a orbit and then slow down your orbit and then just land. I was a you get there, then you slam on the brakes. And this was the actual initial landing thrusters right here. And you would boost to get down to the surface, and then you deploy your landing gear, which I'm doing right now, and then you just gently touch down, and then these rockets would actually help you take off again. And then they would detach, and then you have this rocket, which gets you back to Kerbin. Now once you finally got back to Kerbin, you'd start falling, and then these ablators right here would heat up and keep you from dying, and then finally you'd use this to try to slow down, and then you'd use all your parachutes, which I have a crap ton of parachutes here. So let's use them as soon as we get a little bit closer. I don't want to use them too early. Okay, here we go. And let's shut that off. And there you go. There you have it. And this would very, very easily take the Kerbals down, and you'd land on all these landing gear, and then you'd be perfectly fine. This is actually one of the best designed ships that I'd ever made, and I completely forgot that I had it, to be honest. This is where things start getting interesting. I named this one Nuke, hopefully for obvious reasons. It looks like this carries a nuke, because look, there's a little radioactive symbol here, and it's supposed to look basically like an intercontinental ballistic missile. You just fly this thing straight up, and then you take it into orbit, and you fly it around. Let's just do a quick stage demo here. And there we go. And this was the final stage that made it back in the atmosphere. Whoops. And it has a little ablator for you to do high velocity re-entry. And then just as you're falling, let's actually turn here so that you guys can see it kind of fall. There we go. It's completely remotely guided. It's a little remote thing right on here next to where the nuke would be. And you're just falling into atmosphere at this point, obviously. And then just as you're about to hit, you're at your target, so that's all good. Then you detach this, and this is your nuke, just falling right towards its target. And that was kind of it was an idea, and it was cool, and it was fun to make, but it really didn't extend beyond that, and it had no real function, especially because it doesn't blow up like a nuke. Just bloop. Yeah, it was a cool idea though, and I had a lot of fun playing around with that, just practicing nuking the North Pole, just for fun, really. I was only accurate enough to hit the North Pole. I couldn't really hit anything very specific. I used to spend a whole lot of time watching Scott Manley on YouTube, and he had a challenge that was trying to get to space and back in under 3.5 minutes, I think. I can get to about 3.5 minutes with this craft, but not quite, so let's just do this really quick. I want to show you guys what this thing can do, so let's deploy this first stage. It's really fast. Like, it's crazy fast. Space starts at 70,000 meters, 70 kilometers. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. With this ship's acceleration, I think I have to stop it at, like, I want to say 35 kilometers in the air. I think that's where I stop the engines and start the deceleration. Let's see. I could be really wrong, though. Oh, I feel like it's wrong. Let's try it here at 30. Oh man, I feel like it was wrong. So these solid fuel engines aren't extraordinarily efficient, but they're lighter than these main engines and more aerodynamic, so I decided to use those. So we're gonna see if that actually did help. That is space right there. We just reached it. And now we're going a little bit beyond, but this is probably the closest I've ever gotten to space without actually going really, really far beyond. Now we're heading back down at... So, wow, we're going really good. We're at 1 minute and 50 seconds now, heading straight back down. Alright, so those are out of fuel, so I'm going to use these just a little bit to rotate myself. I don't have any RCS thrusters on here. Actually, I might. No, I don't think I do. Oh, well. Anyway. Actually, I do. I do have those. Okay, now let's detach and boost ourselves straight back down. Let's go. Okay, full throttle, please. There we go. Now this is really going to help us get straight down a lot faster. Let's detach here and rotate. And we'll take off our SAS. Now, the idea here is as soon as we get low enough, because we have a little ablator here, as soon as we get low enough, we use these rockets to slow ourselves down, because right now, our speed is way, way too high to actually survive making it well, with just parachutes, really. There we go, and we're in atmosphere. I hope this works. Oh, man. Okay, so we don't need the ablator anymore. And... rockets, go! Please work! No! I was at 308. If I had just deployed it, really... 100 meters earlier, probably I would have done it, but unfortunately I did die this time. But that was the idea. I probably actually could have beat 3 minutes and 30 seconds to space and back, so that's pretty cool. So I hope you guys liked that craft. I took a lot of time to make it. This is called the Ridiculo Craft Mark II. I was just being ridiculous, obviously, and I decided to make a craft with a few engines. A lot of engines. And I wanted to see what would happen. So this is what happens. I did asparagus staging on all of them. So that just means the fuel runs from the outside to the center, and as one runs out, you detach it. That's really straightforward. So let's go and watch how quickly some of these run out of fuel. So as soon as the engine stops, it means it's out of fuel. Because all the engines at once are using the fuel from the outside engines every single time. So there we go. One's out of fuel. Let's detach. Now they get progressively slower and slower because they're using less engines every time. But it's still crazy how fast they're using up this fuel. Oh crap. We broke one of our engines. We're breaking a lot of things. But we are slowing down. So we've got that going for us. Alright. Now I'm going to detach all of these. Go! Alright, so these were the landing gear that were made to land it. This was kind of a ship to make you get to orbit, turn, just fly straight to your destination, and then land. And that was basically it. This is definitely the biggest and the most complex thing I have ever designed. Do you guys remember that submarine that I made in I showed off in my last Kerbal video? That is inside of this. The idea was, it was actually a challenge that I never completed. I got this close to completing it, and then I found out that my ship was not quite adequate, and so in order to forego a complete redesign, I just kind of gave up, and it was on my old channel, and it was really frustrating, but it ended up resulting in this ship being constructed, and so that's pretty cool. It's called the Rocket Submarine. And the entire submarine that I made and perfected is inside of here, and this ship is made to take the submarine to another planet and drop it off into water. I got everything working, I just couldn't get it to the planet. So watch this right here. So let's take off. This thing starts out really slow. It starts out not being able to take off at all until it uses up a little bit of its fuel. Let's hack gravity really quick. Let's make it go really high really quickly. Let's run out. There we go. Now we can detach all of these, hopefully without breaking everything. Nope. We broke everything once again. Oh, right. I still had this main engine here. Okay, we're just trying to get over the water if we can. Whoop. Something broke. The game just crashed. Okay, so after a lot of destruction and trying to get back over the ocean again and, restarting the game, of course, I'm finally on my way back. Hopefully, I can actually face the ocean for this next part, because that's kind of a crucial part. We didn't need that anyway. I detached that early. I wouldn't normally, but we're in atmosphere anyway. So, now, at this point, I would usually deploy my parachutes, but I'm going to deploy them in just a moment. I don't want to deploy them too early. Now is probably a better time, so that I don't destroy the ship. So here we go, and these will just help me to slow down before they deploy, and these just help me to align the whole thing in the proper direction before I release the submarine. So this should detach the shell. So here we go. There we go, and the shell just comes right off, and the two sides just fall and hopefully get destroyed. And then I detach the whole submarine from the from that dropper thing, and then as soon as it's about here, we deploy these parachutes, which should stop us in time. There we go. Oh my goodness. This was a very sketchy way to bring a submarine to another planet. Activate the rocket to give ourselves a slightly softer landing. There we go, and everything that was non-essential got broken off. And now, here we go. So we've got these little engines here. I think that's as high power as I could put them at without, disabling one of the engines, because the intakes were really funky. And now you guys get to see my little submarine actually in action now. It'd be really awesome, you guys, if they put in, some sea creatures or something. Also, aliens on some of the planets. That'd be pretty cool. But, at least sea creatures or, some sort of wildlife like seaweed or even rocks. It'd be pretty awesome. Get to explore a little bit. Maybe have some monoliths underwater or something to collect. That'd be pretty awesome. Okay, so here we go. You guys can see the little lights on the bottom. And this is what the submarine is capable of. It's a lot better when you actually pilot it right. And I can show you guys now the floating to the surface thing that I was talking about in the last one. See, these engines are really heavy. Once I did that, it floats up because these have so much air in them, these grabbers. This is the second to last rocket that I have to show you guys. This one isn't actually rocket powered, but it's still pretty cool. This was the vertical machine Mark 1. I didn't end up making any other versions, but the Mark thing is just kind of a safety thing, a safeguard in case I create more of the same thing. So here we go. Let's activate these engines, and then as soon as we start taking off, let's activate the rocket. Here we go. And rocket. Go! So this thing was made to be a high velocity way into the atmosphere. It was actually created to have the rocket as a boost for afterwards. So the engines got you up, and then once you got really, really high, they detach. Just like, not like that! Not like that at all. Let's try that one more time. This thing looks really cool though. I really liked how the intakes all lined up like that. I really, really liked it. Detach and get the heck out of here with this little guy. And there was no real purpose other than just, I guess, looks and basic functionality. This was kind of just to boost you into space afterwards. And it works. It really, really works. That would probably easily get you into space if it didn't explode right away. Before I show you guys this last vehicle that I made, I want to point out the fact that there have been very, very few explosions, and I know that that might be not as interesting, but I'm really, really proud of that because I'm actually getting a lot better at flying things. The last video was very full of explosions. So this is called the Umbrella. You'll see what I mean in a second. Let's just launch this off. It's a solid fuel rocket. Okay, now we've started to fall a little bit. You guys will see kind of the badminton kind of representation here. That's what it looks like. It looks like the birdie from badminton. Anyway, so if you hit the brake button, that also activates the air brakes. So let's do that and watch the velocity right here. We're at about 50 to 55 meters per second. Let's hold the brake button and watch our velocity. Watch this. It starts slowing down very quickly. The idea was to kind of try at least to have, let's lock the brakes on, to have a replacement for parachutes if you needed to. And this is ridiculous. It does not help your drag at all. It actually really, really hurts you for drag. But maybe if you had some fairings around them, it would actually be a really good backup braking system, because a lot of times your parachutes burn up mid-flight or you deploy them too early. And it's really nice to have a safeguard. And boop! Yay! So it blows up like a few of these, but then you can actually take off the brakes and obviously see which ones blew up. But then there you go. You've got a pretty functional little escape pod thing. You can recover the vessel and get them back, but you can't have them get out. That's kind of the problem with this design, but that's really the only flaw that I can see, other than the fact that you have a lot of drag. But fairings should fix that. Maybe I'll do some experimenting in the future. But anyway, that's all of my vehicles. You guys have seen pretty much everything now, so thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please do leave a like, and I will see all of you guys in the next one. Goodbye! Yes, look, we're getting kills. We killed 2 guys on the freaking tracks, and I get those points. Wow, this is everything I ever hoped for, to be honest. Look at that. We killed